Hi there, it's Katie J here, and I am tuning in for the Monday messages. We are back with the Sisterhood series to celebrate the relaunch of my online women's circles. So for the whole month of June, we are talking about sisterhood, circles, and spirituality. This week on the Monday messages, I'm going to discuss what it actually means to be a spiritual woman. I know that the word spiritual can be really confusing for a lot of people, especially if you grew up in a church or you grew up outside of any sort of spiritual traditions. It can be really confusing as to what that means. So I want to clarify a few things because I specifically advertise and I specifically host these women's circles for spiritual women. So what does it mean to be spiritual? To me, spirituality is simply the search for and the connection to something larger than yourself. So this airplane flying over is an example of something much larger than myself, making recording a little bit more difficult. So spirituality is the search for and connection to something larger than yourself. So that can mean a God, that can mean your connection to Mother Nature, that can mean your connection to community, that can mean your connection to energy, because obviously even though we hold energy bodies, we are energetic bodies, there's so much energy outside of us. So there's so many different ways for you to practice spirituality, and I see a lot of people getting really overwhelmed with all the information out there, overwhelmed with should I be studying yoga and chakras and meditation? Should I be listening to Abraham Hicks? Should I be listening to this spiritual guru? Should I be going to India and studying this? And it can be really, really confusing. So my biggest piece of advice for someone who wants to pursue a spiritual lifestyle is to reconnect with yourself, because as spiritual women, the only way that we can really truly connect with the divine, or rather the most efficient way to connect with the divine, is through our own beings, through our own inner beings, as Abraham Hicks says. So within every one of us, there's a soul, right? That's the difference between somebody laying in a casket and somebody that you can actually talk to. We're not talking to somebody's bodies. We're not friends with somebody's bodies. We're friends with somebody's souls. We're in love with somebody's souls. We love our loved ones because of their souls, right? We don't look at a casket and say like, oh, that's grandma, just how I always knew her. No, grandma is a soul. So remembering the fact that we all have a soul within us, and that soul, when it's no longer in the body, where does it go, right? It goes back into the consciousness. It goes back to, maybe we don't even, hi buddy. We don't even know where it goes for sure. But what we do know is that there is a soul inside of us. And that soul is our immediate connection to the divine. It is our immediate connection to source energy, the exact same creative energy and creative consciousness that created this entire realm, created you, created me, created this phone, created this beautiful backdrop that we're sitting here today. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling confused about your life as a spiritual woman, I would encourage you to reconnect with yourself. So let's say you're learning, maybe you want to dive into a specific faith or religion or tradition, like let's say Taoism. And there are parts of Taoism that you really resonate with and that really stick out to you and that you absolutely love. And then there are other parts that are confusing and maybe you don't get, or maybe you just completely disagree with. I'm going to sit here and give you permission to pick and choose the parts of different faiths and religions and spiritual traditions that resonate with you. Because at the end of the day, your truth is your path. So follow that above everything else. Doesn't matter if someone else said that you need to read this book and follow this guru. Doesn't matter if your mentor tells you that you should go take your shoes off and put your feet in the earth and practice earthing with Mother Nature. If that doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. Pick and choose what resonates with you, because your soul knows your path. So being a spiritual woman doesn't need to mean that you are a part of any one tradition or that you're not a part of any one tradition. You can be a Christian, you can be a Buddhist, you can be Muslim and still be a spiritual woman. All of those things are just pockets of spirituality, specific traditions, specific practices, specific rituals, specific mantras, specific prayers, specific songs that are all connecting to spirituality. They're all meant to connect you to something larger than yourself, whether that be God, Allah, energy, or something else. So know that being a spiritual woman doesn't mean that you have to look any sort of way. All it means is that you are actively connecting to your truth, to your inner being, to your soul, and the source that creates everything. So that's my spiel about being a spiritual woman. I wanted to film it out here in nature by this beautiful little creek that Huli and I found on our hike. And this is my first time doing a Monday message outside. I hope you enjoyed it and that the plains and water weren't too distracting. I just felt really called to sit and share with you all what being a spiritual woman means to me, because, this is one of the first times I've ever talked about this, but I feel the need to be a little bit more bold lately. I actually identify as a witch. Witchcraft is something that I practice in my manifestation practices, in my spiritual practices, and that can be confusing for a lot of people because there are a lot of women in our history who were murdered for witchcraft. And that's obviously a really scary thing to talk about just from an ancestral trauma standpoint. As women, we are subconsciously taught not to believe in or practice any sort of magic or any sort of spells or rituals because we might be identified as a witch and killed by our community. But what it really means is just the connection to, what it really means to me is connecting to Mother Earth and to the healing powers within all of us. That's all being a witch means to me, is the connection between Mother Earth, empowering me to heal myself and to help the world heal. So that's my spiritual tradition, is witchcraft. And I hone that by spending time outside in nature and prioritizing nature in my life, and by studying things like Ayurveda and spiritual healing and energy work. All of those things are my forms of witchcraft. So there are a lot of people out there who identify as witches and will just kind of like slide it in there casually, and some who will actually like full on claim it, like I'm a motherfucking modern witch. So that's how I feel about spirituality and being a spiritual woman. I have thought about even saying that these women's circles are meant for modern witches, but kind of feared that maybe it might separate some people and think that they're not welcome. All are welcome. Everyone's welcome, whether you're a witch or not. So I'm going to leave it as these circles are open for spiritual women who are learning more about themselves and evolving and transcending all of the bullshit that's been holding them back. That's who this is for. The spiritual women who are on their path, connecting to their truth and realizing that the people around them, the folks around them, their community is not supportive or just not on board or doesn't understand. So here we are creating intentional communities for women just like you. So if you're interested in learning more about these online women's circles, I would encourage you to head on over to womanifestor.com. That's where you can hop on the wait list. As soon as you do, you'll get an enrollment invite. You can only enroll through the wait list until Wednesday, and then I'll open it up to the public. And this is a very special offer because if you enroll off the wait list by Wednesday, the 17th, then you get a number of really special things, including 3 hours of one-on-one coaching with me. You automatically get access to my shadow workshop and my light workshop. You get priority pick on which day you want to meet, whether it's Saturday or Sunday for the women's circle, and you can have all payment plans interest free. So that's really exciting. So go ahead and let me know if you have any questions about the women's circle, whether or not it's a good fit for you. If you join the wait list, I will be reaching out to you via DMs and Instagram, and just starting a conversation, a no pressure conversation about whether or not this is a good fit. I know some people have signed up for the wait list and then realized, actually, I do better with one-on-one coaching. So then they reached out to me and signed up for one-on-one coaching. So know that that's an option too. I'm just putting it out there for all of the women who do feel called to join this circle, that enrollment is open. All right, that's it for today's Monday Messages. I love you. Mwah. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you when I see ya.